Hey, I'm Aaron Sprinkle, and I'm a producer, songwriter, and engineer here in Nashville. Some of the artists I've worked with are Acceptance, Anne Berlin, Story of the Year, and New Found Glory. So I got started making records really young. Before I graduated from high school, I started doing home recording, and it was really just a way for me to record the songs I was making with my friends or by myself. So it was really just a means to an end of making a song. And by the time I graduated from high school, I was already working in studios and being hired to produce and engineer and mix for other artists. And then I did my first label record around 19 years old, and I've just been doing that ever since. So when I look back on different records I've done, the ones that were the most fun and were the most creative and were the most, turned out the best, the way we wanted them to, are the ones where we were all on the same page. We were all on the same team. There wasn't a lot of ego happening in the room, and everybody was basically in the band, in the room. We were all there with the one kind of mindset. And, a lot of these artists I've worked with over the years are like family to me. Like when you spend a couple months in a studio making a record, you get really close. And so the relationships, all those different things that grow in the process of making a record come out in the final product. So when I can have this incredible creative experience with a band and then laugh our asses off, at a YouTube video at the same time, and there's just that kind of, like I said, family relationship that happens. I really think that translates in the final product. So the most memorable thing to me about any record is that relationship and that common goal of conveying emotions through what we're doing. Not necessarily a specific studio that we got to work in or a specific person we got to work with or anything like that, just really that commonality and that common goal. I always would say to artists, if you have fun making a record, people are going to have fun listening to it. And it's really important to me. So mixing for me is just part of one whole big process of making a song. Mixing, producing, writing, performing, it's all one thing to me. So as I'm writing a song, I'm kind of recording it, I'm kind of producing it, and I'm kind of mixing it all at once. So it's a very creative and kind of tactile thing for me. When I'm writing a song, producing a song, mixing a song, I'm trying to convey a feeling. And most people hear a song and they either like it or don't like it. It's a very binary thing. If they like it, they might get more in depth and hear all those little intricate things that you're doing. But that first impression that you give someone with a song, is it connecting on an emotional level? Is it making them feel something that they want to feel? So really, it's trying to listen as a fan, trying to listen as a music listener, trying to keep those ears on all the time is the most important thing for me in all of those different situations. What I do to stay creative is I try to be really diverse in what I'm doing. I try to push myself outside of any kind of box that I might find myself in, and to push limits, to make myself uncomfortable on purpose. And I find if I'm too in one lane and if I'm too comfortable, that's when I get stagnant and stale. And if I just step back and go, how can I just approach this from a completely different angle? And then the other thing is I think really trusting your gut, trusting your heart, not listening to those voices in your head of those imaginary people that are going to listen and judge this that one way or another, but just really trusting, if it's connecting with me, then it's probably going to connect with someone else. Mixing technology, mixing gear, even the process a little bit has evolved a lot since I first started. I'm fortunate to be of this generation that started on tape. I made probably 100 records to tape before I even switched over to digital. So I got to learn about the really basics of signal chain and what these pieces of gear that we're all emulating now actually sound like, and experience and use them. But as time has gone on, my entire goal with gear and technology has been to shorten the time, the length between conception and realization, shortening that gap as much as possible. Because I want to keep that flow going, that creative flow. Because I think, not just for me, but for a lot of people, it's all one process now. You're not like, okay, I'm going to write a song, then I'm going to produce it, and then I'm going to mix it. It's all happening at the same time. So I've always been excited about technological advances in making things more streamlined, more easy, more accessible. So, I used to make records to tape and mix on a console, and sometimes I didn't even have automation. I'd have to have like 4 guys sitting there helping me do all the moves. And now I'm in the box 100% about 99% of the time. And I love it because it makes that barrier of that gear and slowing down and stopping and thinking kind of not as intrusive into the process. My signal chains tend to be a combination of experience and just being intuitive on the sound that I'm working on. I really try to almost uncover what the song or the part or the track is wanting, rather than trying to manhandle it into something that it's not wanting to be. So it's very all of this is very emotional to me. I mean, I'm totally a nerd when it comes to the technical side, but I'm always trying to get an emotional response, whether it be from the entire mix or just the snare sound. And so I do have go-to things that I do. I have go-to signal chains, plugins, outboard gear, mics, all that stuff. But they tend to be sort of specific to the mood I'm in or the mood the song is giving me. And I also go through phases with all that stuff too, where I'll be really into this thing and then I'll kind of change over to this thing and then I'll go back to that thing. And so I try to keep it fresh. I try to not use the same stuff over and over and over and over on everything, because I think it doesn't do justice to what you're working on to do that. So I don't really use templates a lot as far as like a session. I use a lot of presets that I've either made or that I've found that I like, but I have a lot at my disposal and I like to keep a very broad palette. And I also like to use like a vocal signal chain on a guitar and really mix stuff up just to get that unique sound out of things and not put everything in a box and try to make everything sound the same. I do have some mic pre's that I really like a lot, and a lot of the same ones that everybody likes. I love the Neve stuff. I love API stuff. I love, actually, I really love Trident stuff too. And then, compressor-wise, it really depends on what I'm tracking or mixing. The different styles of compression, whether it be an 1176 or an LA2A style of compressor or a SSL style of compressor. So, but a lot of what I end up mixing with is vintage, E series, SSL type of stuff I really like. And an API type of stuff I really like a lot too. I like both the 550 and the 560 EQs in that area, and Pultec style stuff. I try to keep a lot of different versions of those pieces, like a bunch of Pultec style EQs, a bunch of SSL style compressors or EQs, and LA2A style things. So I'm not just using the same thing over and over. And then I also really like abrasive or sort of upsetting plugins that do a lot, that really throw something into a different area. And even if I'm just using a little bit of that to bring out the character, to bring out the room that you recorded it in, so you can hear a little bit of that, that kind of stuff I think adds that depth. When I sat down to make this expansion pack and started thinking about it, I wanted it to be something that I would use, first of all, different signal chains that would be really useful to me. So a little bit selfish, because I'm really excited to just use it in my everyday workflow. But the focus of my expansion pack is more on the creative side, rather than technical, but more creative. A little bit different approach, a little bit different thinking to all these, different things I put in the expansion pack, and to inspire people, so they might throw one of my acoustic guitar things or vocal things on, get a signal chain that maybe is really different than something that they would have done. One of the greatest things that I can do is inspire someone else to be creative as well, and the thought of that is really rewarding. The concept of ControlHub and its execution are really exciting, because you get this glimpse into what someone else would do on a track as a starting point, and it does everything from dynamics to sort of like color, saturation type distortion stuff, EQ, all that kind of stuff, in a different way than like modeling, because it's actually taking something I made with other software or other outboard gear, not from that plugin. It's taking that signal chain that I made and then making an emulation of the entire signal chain. But then to be able to go in and tweak it from there to your own taste is just incredible. So yeah, when I first got it and started playing around with some of the expansion packs and some of the stuff that came with it, I just was blown away. And then when I got it, when I started building my expansion pack and started thinking about how someone would use it, I just got really excited about, again, trying to inspire creativity. I think my favorite feature in ControlHub is the color section. The ability to really tweak that saturation, distortion kind of element of what you're doing. Almost all of my sounds in the expansion pack have some sort of saturation happening. I think it's just sort of part of my sound and something that's really important. So the fact that that's there in the first place and that you can tweak it after the fact is so cool to me. I think that people will like my expansion pack because it's a little left of center of what you would normally find. Some like very pristine sort of typical sounds, because I do have a creative focus with it. I want it to be inspiring. I want it to kind of make you go, oh, when you put one of them on. And I'm very self-taught, and I came from this very kind of distinct world, and I'm always trying to learn new things. I never want to stop learning. Whenever I work with someone, no matter what their age or their experience is, I want to learn. And so I tried to put all of that experience and all the stuff I've learned from everyone into this expansion pack.